All right, Jesse on fire with Dubs here to talk about the Cain Velasquez case. And we are going to get right into this. I want to tell you guys, I'll let Dubs introduce himself, but obviously anybody watching this knows that Cain Velasquez was sentenced to a 5-year prison term yesterday in the case where he pleaded no contest to an attempted murder on a man who is accused of putting hands on his son. And we're going to get into what he faces in prison, specifically with the gangs and the Mexican gangs, which Dubs has an extensive amount of experience with, which he'll share with you shortly. And then we're going to talk about how much time he's probably actually going to serve, given the fact that he is getting credit for some of the time served. And then we're going to get into some of the prison politics going on in California right now, because it might play directly into a lot of Cain Velasquez's experience, and we'll go from there. So, Dubs, go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience and to anybody who is here from Dubs' channel. My name is Jesse on Fire. I've been doing this for 5 years. I cover mixed martial arts, combat sports, violence of all kinds, and recently a lot of Diddy stuff, which falls into the same category, and then some political nonsense if I think it's entertaining. Anyway, Dubs, take it away, my friend.
All right. So my name's Dubs. I have a few channels. At a young age, I was involved with gang activity. At the age of 15, I went into the California Youth Authority, which is prison for kids. Did a little over 3 years there, got out for 5 months, and unfortunately killed someone and was convicted of that and did over 24 years. So when it comes to the corrections in California, unfortunately, because of my former way of living, I know pretty much all there is. Now, there's been things I've been out. I paroled. I had a life sentence and I got lucky and paroled 2017. I've been out almost in July. This July will be 8 years. So there are things that are different, but I still hear things from certain people. And so thankfully, Jesse invited me, and I'm going to offer whatever I can to the channel.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, so as background on how Dubs and I got connected, we got connected because I was watching a lot of his content. I first found him because he makes fun of Wes Watson, which I think is hilarious. And then so I went back and watched a lot of his old like prison stories, and he, his time was like real, all the I feel like all the, kind of like the prison tubers, their goal is to establish credibility in terms of being able to talk about gangs inside the prison, because that's what a lot of people on the outside are interested in. But no one, I mean, as far as I know, there's no one else who's done a Pelican Bay shoe term for, close to 10 years like Dubs. I mean, like Dubs has done all of the things that all these other prison tubers are, they wish that their resume was what his is. I mean, he's the one who had to actually live it. So, he earned the credibility with a lot of fucking challenging years on a
lot of horrible
actually wants to be in.
A lot of horrible choices led me there. I was in Pelican Bay Shoe 4 different occasions. There are other YouTubers. There's a couple that were in Pelican Bay Shoe, but they didn't do the amount of time I did. Doesn't lessen their time, because anytime you're in a level 4 180 design prison, you could wind up killing someone or getting killed at a moment's notice.
Yeah. Let's get it. You know what? We never talked about this before, but after we talk about Cain, let's if you're good with it, let's talk about what like the circumstances that put you in those terms. I don't know if you've ever talked about that, or if you're up to talk about it, but we can go over that later. Let's talk about Cain. So obviously, the judge handed him 5 years. I actually wanted to very quickly go through the judge's statement when he gave him bail, because I think when I read this the night before the sentence was handed down, it gave me so much optimism, given the fact that the judge's statement essentially sounded like every single argument that I would make if I was his attorney, in terms of like, because at the end of the day, it's like, okay, facts of case. If you just take all of the circumstances out of the case, it's like, what crime is he accused of committing? And I guess I'm not sure if he had pled prior to getting bail, but at the end of the day, he ultimately admitted that he did it. It's like, he got in a high-speed chase. He fired. It turns out, I think he fired 3 or 4 bullets. Fired a 40 caliber Glock into someone's car, attempting to hit someone, and he hit a person in the car in the arm. I mean, like, he struck a person with a bullet, and he was intending to shoot a person. It's like the likelihood that this person is not going to get prison time is extraordinarily low under normal, or like a long prison term under normal circumstances. And so, you're going to have to kind of lean on the fact that there were a lot of extenuating circumstances. And I feel like the statement that guy gave going into it were the exact things you were hoping that he was going to think about. You know what I mean?
And remember when we were talking, I kind of was leaning, because you were talking about the original judge, right? And I had said, I personally wouldn't be surprised if he got joint suspension. And he got 5 years, which is even better than I thought he was going to get 10 years joint suspension.
Explain to them what that means.
So basically what that means is you get a 10-year term, but because you're not someone with a criminal history, you're not deemed a threat to society, they'll give you your 10-year term and they'll put you on probation for that 10 years. As long as you don't commit another crime, you don't do the 10 years. You just do it. You don't do it in custody behind the walls. You do it on probation. And had he got
what if you had been out for 4.5 years, or 4 years, and you were clear, and then you I don't know, you ran, you drove drunk and rammed your car into a cop. Like, do you do the whole 10, or are you going for the remaining 5?
The remaining, because just like he had an ankle monitor on, that's considered in custody. So when you're on probation, that's considered that your confinement time is running from the day you're convicted. Okay. The day you're sentenced, excuse me.
Okay. Yeah, because when you explained it to me and you were like, man, it's almost worth, I realized afterwards I didn't ask if that meant that, like, okay, you got a 10-year sentence hanging over your head throughout your probation, and if you commit a crime, then you get shipped for 10. I didn't know that it was like that, or if you do
it counts. See, so what I was telling you was when guys that are like criminals take that case, it's dumb, because you're going to commit another crime and you're still going to have to go and do that time. So you might as well just get it out of the way, but somebody like Cain, if he were to get a suspended sentence, and I don't know, is the sentencing complete already? I didn't want to look at anything because I wanted to hear it from you.
He got sentenced yesterday.
Okay, then he got it. Okay, so then he will probably be this week. He'll be in I don't know what reception. I think he go to San Quentin. He'll go over to CDC custody with this week probably.
Yeah. So he was given 5 years. The report is that the judge actually was crying, or the way it was written up was he was choked up when he was giving Cain the sentence, and said that the worst punishment that a person can give is to take a father away from a child. And so like that, and then that's when he was sentencing him to the 5. So
especially if the son has been hurt in that way and his father is his rock, and then you take his father away from him. Now obviously, I'm a ex-convict. I am not a liberal. I believe that if you do a crime, you do time. When it comes to these type of cases, I don't believe incarceration is it. I really don't. Yes, he hit the wrong person. But for me, it's like that guy is lucky he didn't get hit somewhere else. Hey, rub some dirt on it and you're going to be okay. I feel like taking Cain away from his son, and his son is probably still healing, and he's going to be healing for the rest of his life. Sure. And this adds more trauma to a traumatic experience.
Yeah. I think about the daughter too. That probably has a lot to do with the fact that I have daughters. And so like the way I try to explain like parenthood to people is, there's a million different kind of categories of that, but it's like when I hear these people, like celebrities, they're like, God, I'm so glad I didn't have children. I'm like, you don't fucking know that. Like, it's like you you think you're happy you don't have children, but you only say that because you don't have children, so you don't know. You know, like if I would have gone my whole life without having kids, for sure. I mean, because like from the outside in, you look at what it entails to have a kid, and you're like, you know, you're at a resort, and these kids, you know, kids are like, "Mommy, I want fucking blah blah." And you're like, Jesus, man, I would tell that kid to shut the fuck up because it's not your kid. But when it's your kid, it changes everything. And so I am totally aware that relating to people who have daughters is way easier for me because I have all daughters. And like I just absolutely believe that like a girl needs a father. Like that's just what it is. And obviously a son does too. And Cain is like, I mean, obviously there are limits to what, you know, I mean, like, I don't know. I mean, I don't mean like there's limits to what you can do in response to someone who victimizes your kid if we're in the jungle, you know, but like, and if someone did that to my own kids, every instinct that you have is going to be a merciless, violent death for the perpetrator of that crime. And it's like, and honestly, it's honestly up to you to fight that urge more than anything else if you are likely to get caught. Like at the end of the day, it's just one of those things where I can fully excuse a person. I think Cain, like if Cain would have gotten no time, I would have been ecstatic about that. The fact that he got the 5 years, he's only going to do one. That's great.
Yeah, he's got about 16 months he has to do. 16. I calculated it because he's got to do 85% because it's a violent crime.
Yeah.
And just to go back for a second to what you're saying. So when I got busted, when I got picked up on my murder case, my ex-wife was 8 weeks pregnant. When I paroled, my daughter was 24 years old. And even in my situation, having a daughter, even behind the walls, made me look at things different.
Yeah.
You know, it's true. You know, had I had a son, I don't think it would have. You know, I'll tell you, in my experience in prison, most guys that have sons, their sons wind up cutting them loose because they see their mom struggling without dad. And they tell, you know, to them, they're like, you fucking left my mom out here struggling, man. Fuck you. But a daughter will look for a way to love dad no matter what, you know, and it's a different type of love.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, daughters are, and that's the same thing with the judge. It's like, you know what? I don't want to go down too far down that rabbit hole right now because I want to get into what we were going to talk about. So, like, talk to me about what is, you know, specifically what Cain is probably in store for, but also I want to talk about like hypothetically, had Cain gotten a much longer sentence, and tell me what it would, you know, like obviously there's a question of whether or not he's going to go into general population or if he goes to PC, just depending on what the prison does with him. But I mean, we're basically talking hypotheticals here anyway. So just, you know, talk to me about what like a Mexican public figure would face going into a long prison term in California, a short prison term in California, et cetera. And especially given the fact that Cain is this gigantic, incredibly violently capable person who is not a criminal and is trying to stay clean, like whether or not they could do that and all that stuff. You know what I mean?
So for Cain, so he's going to go to reception. I don't know how long guys sit in reception now. When I went through in 1994, I got busted in 93. I hit the CDC in 94. It was 4 months. You sat there for 4 months, and basically all you were doing was waiting to see a counselor. He needs to be classified. There's going to be mitigating circumstances in his case and aggravating. I don't think he has very many aggravating. The mitigating is going to outweigh. He got a 5-year sentence. I think he's going to wind up in a level 2. He may have level 3 points and get a level 2 override. Level 2 is dorm living. Someone like Cain, I'm sure, would prefer to be in a cell. Mostly everybody in prison would prefer to be in a cell.
You're talking versus like a gym or like an open
dorm,
area or whatever?
Open dorm. Yeah, that's horrible, right? I was there in California Youth Authority. I did some dorm time. It's horrible. Cells are straight up. I don't think he's going to get like a fire camp or anything like that. He doesn't have enough time to do. He's got 16 months he's going to do. By the time he hits his yard, by the way, him being high profile, I think the CDC is going to try to put him in protective housing. He doesn't need it. He doesn't have a bad case. He's not
the opposite of a bad case, right?
He has one of the cases that people would commend him for in there, and he has, I don't know him, you know him, but by looking at him, I can see it's more than likely in his nature to be a quiet dude, a humble dude.
I've always heard that about him, is he's like he's quiet. Like he's not like a dude who's gonna go in there talking a lot.
So in prison,
my mic. Dude, that's a bunch of people have said that. Hang on. Is that better? Is that better? No, just mine. You guys tell me if that's better. I just turned it way up. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry, but you guys let me know if the mic just got louder.
Yeah, I don't see anyone. No matter what level he goes to, I don't see anyone in there messing with him. They said still too quiet. It may be an OBS, a filter in OBS.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because I've been having a problem with that. California is not like some of these other states where they run heart checks and stuff like that. If you come into
that's why. There we go. That should be way better.
Okay.
You guys, let me know if that's much better, because I just turned it fucking way up. I don't know why it was so low. Go ahead, continue. Sorry.
No, I was going to say, in California, when you hit any yard, as long as you stay out of people's business, you can do your time. He's not going to have any problems. On top of that, he's the former UFC heavyweight champion of the world. People are not going to want to tangle with him. I think he's going to wind up like in San Quentin or Mule Creek, maybe, or I don't know. But I don't see him go. He's not going to go to one of the yards where everything's really cracking right now. And actually, a lot of those yards right now are on lockdown because of all the murders that have been happening. I don't see him going to any one of the yards where there's anybody getting killed.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, I wonder what he would prefer, because like, I would imagine being put in PC with a bunch of guys who are in there doing time for the same crime that he put bullets in a cart for is probably not very desirable. So, I don't know. Like, I told you, I only have a couple buddies that have done any kind of like significant bids, and they said, like, one of them, a really good buddy of mine who I told you about, who robbed the banks. He told me that, like, he's like, I told you this too. He's like, I'm like, can you get like any of these guards that you interact? Because he did Fed time, and he was at what's it called? Oh my God, it's gonna come to me later. Whatever. It's really well known prison in California.
Leavenworth.
What is it?
Not Leavenworth.
Like, Dom from fucking Fast and the Furious was in there. Like Lompoc.
Yeah, so, that's actually. So I'm from Santa Barbara, and so for everyone here, Lompoc is actually in Santa Barbara County. Everybody outside of Santa Barbara County calls it Lompoc. So that's what I was figuring you were talking about.
Well, I think, I mean, I don't know. He's whatever. So he's like, he said that basically they're like fucking guys that work at the DMV that someone gave a badge to and a bunch of power over people. He's like they're shitbags. He's like, yeah. So I only bring that up in thinking through the intelligence of a person who's going to be making decisions on where he goes. Because if it's me, I would be like, he probably doesn't want to be do time with child molesters. So if we figure out a way to down him to a level 2 and we put him in general population, he's probably in a better spot. You know what I mean? Like but I also don't know if they give a fuck about that. You know what I mean? Like, so because level 2 in general population, he shouldn't have any issues, right?
Well, if I'm going to be honest with you, so guys in level 3s and level 4s kind of look at level 2s as they're not the most solid yards, because those guys are going home soon. They're not really trying to kill anybody. They mind their own business. Right? Yeah. Yes. They mind their own business. Yeah. They're not really trying to push a hard line. So level 2s, a lot of them are looked kind of like, even before there's a thing called the 50-50 yard. They're kind of looked at more like that. Doesn't mean they are, but they're just viewed by guys in a level 4 and 3 as, I know when I was in New Folsom, Old Folsom was a lower level prison, and we would hear about guys that were there that we knew, like, if those guys come over here, we're gonna have to hit them. But over there, they didn't know any better because those guys are doing, a year, 2 years, 3 years. They're just trying to do their time and go home. So, like I said, I don't see him having any problems. The problem that I do have, and I told you earlier, I don't want to say too much. I mean, we want to inform the public. That's why you guys are here. But we also I have to bear in mind that I don't want his family seeing stuff and then getting scared when they don't need to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My concern is, I believe this California Department of Corrections is very upset that the SHU is shut down, and men that they had in the hole for 30 years, some more, some a little less, are now on the main lines, and the courts granted that. And I think the CDC is allowing a lot of stuff to go on. People are being murdered a lot in the CDC. And I think it's the CDC's way of trying to prove the courts wrong and open it back up, open the SHU back up. And they wouldn't care whatsoever if Cain got put in the wrong place and wound up killing someone or having to kill someone.
Yeah. Because if anybody doesn't know, like anybody who doesn't know,
getting killed or killing someone, excuse me.
Yeah. What Dubs is referencing is like the way you ended up in the SHU before. Dubs doesn't talk specifically about the organizations, but I can, which is like the way you end up in the SHU in a lot of cases. Well, if you got validated as a member of one of the big four prison gangs, Aryan Brotherhood, Nuestra Familia, Mexican Mafia, or Black Guerrilla Family, they just put you in the SHU like forever, I guess. And some judge deemed that to be inhumane, and so they just shut down the SHU. And so like now all these guys that are like, these are arch fucking criminals, and guys that'll, they're all doing life sentences, they'll kill people in 1 second. They're all on mainline yards. And so what Dubs and I were talking about before is that like the CDC is very unhappy about that situation and is potentially looking for a reason to reinstate that program. Not like in any way that has anything to do with Cain necessarily. It's just like, it's just one of those things that's happening right now. That's
it's almost like there's a tug of war right now. The CDC does not want to rehabilitate anyone. The CDC wants job security. So they want to bring it back to the old days where you're not learning how to better yourself. You know what I mean? You're learning how to kill people. That's what they want, and they want it that way so that they can slam everybody back down. And it's job security. It's an unfortunate thing, and hopefully, I did a video recently, and I said the way you stop all these killings, or at least give people a better chance, identify who the people are that want to kill people and put them on their own yards. Identify the people that want to program and put them on their own yards. Let the bad guys kill each other off, and let the good guys parole and come home and show people that people can make a difference. Real quick, I don't want to, this is your channel, and I don't want to, but when, you asked me to introduce myself, and then I see in the comment section, people that don't know anything about my case are talking about that I killed a kid and then ratted. My victim, I was 19. My victim was 29 years old, and he was from my barrio. I killed one of my own homeboys, and it had nothing to do with gangbanging. They came to start shit to help a family member, and nobody can produce any paperwork on me whatsoever that I ratted on anybody. So you can go and fuck yourself for saying that I killed a kid and that I told. So now back to Cain.
Yeah, I saw people on the thing, and they're like, Jesse, tell these people, and I'm like, I'm not gonna say.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to do that because of course. Yeah. But it's a funny thing how they always say that I killed an innocent kid, but he was armed and came with 5 people to us, and we were celebrating the baptism. So
he's a gang member, right?
Yeah. Well, he was from a clique in my neighborhood, the West Side Boys. They weren't really active anymore. He was 29 years old. He was a husband and a father, but he made the poor decision to come and help out somebody who got jumped in my neighborhood who was a rival gang member, and they decided to help out a rival gang, and that's what happened. I was a different person back then, and I've told people before, who I was back then would have killed anybody, and you would not have talked to me the way you talk in these comment sections, the person I was back then. Now I just laugh at you and I help you. I thank you for helping the algorithm.
I said that to somebody on Instagram last night that said something about my wife. Like, they said something about in a picture of my wife. Hey, he's like, hey, why don't you feed her something besides dick sometime? I was like, that's funny. That's the kind of thing no one ever says to me in person. Although I wish you would, because I'm looking for a reason to test how long it would take me to fucking disjoint a fat fuck like you in person. But no one ever says anything like that in person. Stunning.
Never. Everybody that meets me in person, hey, what's up, Dubs? I'm like, hey, what's up? How you doing, Holmes? I go up to them, I shake their hand, and it's always friendly.
That's because everybody's cool in person.
Guys on the internet, they get to create a whole persona.
Yeah.
But let's not get away from this. Is an important topic, man. I calculated, like I said, he's got 16 months to do. If he does 4 months in reception, that's actually going to be the worst time he does. Once he gets to his regular yard, he'll be able to get visits every weekend. I would think they're going to put him in a vocation. He's going to get some preferential treatment. The guards are going to want him around. He's the fucking world champ. You know what I mean? Yeah. He's going to be okay. You know, it's
everyone loves that dude. Like when Cain was the champ, like there's when there's UFC fighters that have big profiles, they're like, sir, there's a lot of guys that are very divisive. You got like guys like John Jones, and like John Jones, a perfect example. Everybody, well, not everybody, but some people would talk a lot of shit to John Jones online. Not what everybody who sees John Jones in person, John Jones, but he's like a divisive character. Conor McGregor, Colby Covington, George Masvidal. These are like top level, guys that I think of. Anybody, there's guys who like them. Look, Cain is one of these. There are no Cain Velasquez haters on earth. That's not a thing. Like no one ever hated on Cain Velasquez. He never gave anyone a reason to have anything but respect and love for that guy, because all he did was quietly train, help guys, and then demolish people in the octagon. Like that's it. He never had a single thing, that would give anyone a reason to dislike him. I mean, he fucking shot a guy, and everybody's like, "Yep, I'm down with that." You know what I mean? Like, because of what it was behind, So I think he's gonna be fined. Yeah. He'll be fine.
I think prison is very helpful for those who are willing to look within. And I don't think Cain, he signed a deal knowing he could have got 40 years.
Yeah,
I think he's going to take this 16 months, and I think he's going to be a better person because of it. He's going to get away. He's going to get away from the world. He's going to get away from. He's going to have an opportunity to really appreciate the things that he lost. And I think we all understand he shouldn't be losing a minute of time. Mm-hmm. He really shouldn't.
Yeah. He said in a statement yesterday, so one thing that I thought was really interesting about what I read about the whole kind of I don't know, like the sentencing hearing and all that stuff, is that Paul Galarte, the guy who's accused of putting a hand on his kid, that guy gave a victim statement, and he said he feared for his life and all that, and his family gave the guy he shot victim statement. And Cain said that he wished love and prosperity for the entire Galarte family, and he hopes that their family heals. He hopes nothing. Like, he said that about a dude accused of putting hand, and it was after he got the sentence. Like, I don't know, dude. I don't think he was. I think he genuinely meant it. The way that I read it was, I was like, man, this dude. I think he genuinely forgives the family. I think he's I think he's in a good spot, dude. When you face the prospect of losing your family, for real, losing your family, sitting in a cell, especially when the original judge was his judge, and he's a quiet guy that watches people. Most of the people that I've known who are in positions like that, where they're around a lot of men and kind of athletics and things like that, but they're known as being quiet. Mm-hmm. They are exceptional at reading people, because they watch. Those are guys that they watch people and they listen. They don't contribute as much as they pay attention. And I can fucking guarantee you that when Cain was in the courtroom with the woman judge, that he was looking at her and was probably correctly reading. He's like, man, this this is not good. You know what I mean? Like he's like, I could tell, how a person feels just by watching them at their, and I only say that meaning like he was probably fucking terrified that there was a high probability that he was actually going to lose 10 to 20 years with his family. And so, having the time to reflect on that alone and then have this outcome, I mean, I don't know. The worst times of my life have changed me for the better for sure. And I've never faced anything as heavy as that. You know what I mean?
And then me, I'm gonna look at it from the other end. There is the possibility though that when Cain got in the car with a gun, his mind was made up. No matter what happens to me from this point on, I accept it. And whenever he saw the judge and, the original judge and thought, maybe I am going to go away for the rest of my life. And you know what? I'd do it again. And I think any father would think that,
it's possible.
So I think he's probably just at peace with it no matter what, and shit, that's not an easy thing to do, to sign a deal knowing I may get 40 years. Now, his attorney was probably telling him, you're not going to get this, you're not going to get that. You never know, man.
No. Yeah. There's no way to feel comfortable with that. Shotgun Yoda, thank you for the shot. If I'd have been Cain's spot, I would have been in for life. Oh, what? So you're saying you're a better shot than Cain? You're talking shit about his aim or what, dude?
It's a moving car. Hey, it's a moving car and he hit somebody.
Yeah.
Shit.
That's pretty crazy, actually. Because I was saying on my live stream, one of the things I like that I thought about is like, there's the one clip of Cain chasing them, like over, he goes over the grass and he's chasing them onto the freeway. Yeah. I gotta assume, given the amount of kind of distance that they covered, that there has to be a moment in this chase where Cain pulls alongside them and tells them to pull over. Probably.
Yeah.
And just fucking imagine the terror if you're Galarte in the passenger side and Cain Velasquez, and you just got released from jail, accused of touching his kid, and you look over and Cain Velasquez, his head is this big, dude. You see his head is this big, and he looks, pull the fucking car, bro. That's probably scarier than when the fucking bullets hit the ride, dude.
I was gonna say it would have probably been worse if he would have got out of the car and just used his hands.
Yeah. I mean, that's the same. Honestly, you get out of the car right there. That's the same as putting the gun in your own mouth and pulling the trigger. Like, you're not surviving that, dude. That's just one of those things. You're not going to make it. Like, you're not going to make it through that. Neither of them, maybe. I mean,
and he probably had just found out about what happened. I don't know the details. He probably had just found out what happened to his son, and he went into a rage.
So here's exactly what happened. Was the accusation happens. They go to the police. The guy gets arrested, and the dude was inside. What happened was the guy got released from prison, and Cain found out that the guy had been released. And so the dude, he left his house to go. The guy was driving him to go get his ankle monitor put on. That's why he was out in the car. So you got to figure like a high-speed chase. Now, this I don't know for sure, but I've always hypothesized that Cain probably went to their house. And he's probably sitting out front of the house trying to think about what he's going to do. Like he's probably sitting out front of the house, and then he sees him get into the car, snaps, and then he starts following him. And that part I don't know, but that's for sure what happened. The guy got arrested, got released, and then was going to get an ankle monitor, and that's when Cain got on him. Shotgun. If I got a hold of a person who did that to my kid, no, yeah, I understand. Yeah, I was just saying. Yeah, Cain tried to do the same thing. He's not doing life, so I'm saying like. So you're saying you'd have shot better, or you know what I mean?
Who, me?
I was joking. No, because Shotgun Yoda said if I got a hold of the person who did that to me, the same dude.
Yeah.
He'd do life or whatever. Thank you for the super chat, good sir. So where's Gunner? I didn't even think about it. Gunner could come on also, but I mean, we'll do another one, dude. I like having Gunner on.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm glad one thing that I thought was kind of, I was really surprised by was the reaction online. People were, I think people heard the 5 years and they thought he was like gonna do the 5. And also I think a lot of people had much higher optimism about Cain getting time served. Like I did. Yeah, I know. You made me more optimistic when we talked but then once I read the judge's statement after I talked to you, and then once I read the judge's statement, that's the thing where I was like, okay, this could actually happen. But
when we originally talked, I had said I think he'll get time served or he'll get joint suspension. I said the only problem I saw with him possibly getting time was it being California.
Yeah,
they're just more lenient with those type of crimes. Anywhere else, he probably wouldn't even have got the 5 years. Yeah, well, who knows? We can't say that for sure, but he got the best thing, man. The judge obviously was choked up, so he felt like I have to give you something. If it was up to me, I wouldn't give you a damn thing. You give him a fucking medal.
I think he was choked up thinking about yeah, I think so. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. I had interpreted that as him being choked up at the thought of like taking him away from his kid for like a long period of time. Like I think he was choked up like because he aligned so much with Cain's experience, you know what I mean? And the guy had been a public defender prior to becoming a judge.
Yeah,
which means he's heard a lot of it's one thing to like know the stories of these people. It's another thing to actually like know the people and go through the process of trying to defend someone. You actually meet them and you get aligned with their and then you see them get shipped for a really long time.
And he knows that there's a lot of serious stuff going on in the CDC right now. But that's why we're doing our part with this and letting it be known where he's not going to one of those prisons where all the serious stuff is happening right now.
Dude, you told me that there are guys now that have killed like 4 or 5 people inside, and they're just in general population again after like how long? Like, tell me that.
So I was telling Jesse, there's 2 dudes. We've done stories on them recently. Gunner did them, I think, on both guys. I did it on one. There's 2 guys that in the last, I think, 4 or 5 years. I think in the last 5 years, they've killed 5 people just between 2 dudes. And the thing is because the shoe is no longer open. Whereas before, if you killed somebody, you're going to go to the shoe for 4 years, right? And if the cops felt that you were like someone they need to be concerned about, they were going to do whatever they had to do to plant something on you, use whatever, and validate you as an associate or a member of one of the big 4 organizations. Well, that's no longer the case. And so you have guys that are righteously sociopaths that are behind the walls where instead of being placed in the shoe, they kill somebody, and then within it seems like months, they're back on the yard with these guys. And what's to stop them from killing again? Yeah. So not everybody is like that, man.
So I read this book right here. Oh, God damn it. This one right here. I read The Sociopath Next Door. I read this book in like maybe 2010. And I remember it's either 1 in 20 or 1 in 25. I think it's either 1 in 20 or 1 in 25 people in America is a sociopath. And I remember being like, God damn, man, like that's not a psychopath, a sociopath. A sociopath has no conscience. Psychopath actually enjoys hurting people. So like a sociopath is the example I always give to people to like explain the difference. It's like, so like if someone let's say you went over to someone's house, like someone hired you to like, I don't know, like what, house sit or whatever. And on the way out, they tell you a story about how like they saved $500 over the last 2 years to make sure that they gave their kid this incredible Christmas this year. Okay, like a sociopath would steal that $500 and never feel 1 ounce of guilt about it because they wanted the $500 and they don't give a fuck. It wouldn't even register that they should feel guilty. A psychopath would steal the $500 and would make sure that they gave themselves a reason to be in the house the whole time that the person's crying about it because they enjoy like the feeling of knowing that they hurt the person. It's like it's a difference between don't care and like actually wanting to hurt the person. You know what I mean?
Well, we've talked about this. I actually saw this. I don't remember. I want to say it was on Rogan. They were interviewing this guy, and he said there is a psychopath gene.
Yeah.
And that it's genetic because back in the days when they were, kingdom fighting kingdom and the whole pillaging thing, they had to have those guys that had no qualm about going the extra mile. And those were the guys that were sent in to do the worst stuff. Well, that has never been like it still exists. That gene still exists in certain people. And that's why when you have people in prison, you know, prison is a very violent place, but then you have those standout guys that are even more extremely violent for no fucking reason. And they just enjoy it, you know, and you converse with these type of cats in there and you're just like, fuck, man, this dude is fucking nuts.
Yeah.
And you might even wind up living with
them. Not true. Like people, this is not true. There absolutely is a difference. In psychiatry, they make these distinctions that have to do with behavior. They're like psychopaths are maybe more likely to be hyper intelligent. And like I've gotten in arguments about this with Gabrielle. She's like, you're arguing with the fucking DSM. And I'm like, I actually do think that the DSM is like, but anyway, it doesn't matter. But I'm gonna derail the fuck out of this. But anyway, but I don't want it to go too much longer. I don't want to do more than like 45 minutes on these. But but so like, are you able to talk about any of the stuff about anything relating to how you got your shoe terms or no?
I mean, I was committing acts of violence.
Oh, every time that's just what it is. It's like you get like commit act of violence, get 4 years in the shoe or whatever. Yeah,
I was involved in a lot of violence, you know, directly as well as indirectly, and I would wind up in the shoe. And you know, you do your time, and then they kick you right back out to the 180 yards, which are called shoe kick out yards, and you're supposed to do 3 years there. And if you can do 3 years there without getting a 115, a write up, then you can go to 270 design level 4. Right? Most guys, it's damn near impossible to be on a yard for 3 years without having, you know, to do something else.
Because it's filled with nothing but people who have been kicked out of a shoe term.
Yeah, it's 90%. And then you have some guys that are just starting their prison terms, you know, and you know, a lot of times, you know, well, I don't want to say a lot. Some of the times, those are the guys that wind up getting hit because they haven't learned how to do time yet, you know, or their cases or whatever, you know. Is most of my ink done in prison? It's all done in prison.
What do they use? What do they use for ink for most of those?
So the best stuff is usually baby oil. You burn baby oil. The darkest ink I have, so the darkest ink I have is this stuff here, and that's actually Murray's pomade hair grease. But you know, some people will use chess pieces. The easiest thing to do is baby oil. You put it in a you know, you cut a soda can, you fill it up with baby oil, you put a wick in there, you twist up toilet paper, put it in there as your wick, light it up, and you put a paper bag over it. When it turns baby
oil into ink,
soot. It's soot,
shit.
And then you scrape up all the soot with an ID or whatever you want to use, and you put it in a container, and you just start adding drops of water.
That's wild. And Chadwick, I'm the one who said DSM is wrong, not my wife. So I was right. What's up, dude? Just kidding. Yeah, dude. I mean, some of the best tattoos you ever seen are in prison. Yeah, I mean, like, I've thought about this a lot, actually. Like, dude, if there was some way to find out, like, how many fucking Allen Iversons ended up locked up like that, or how many, like, guys who would have been ridiculous superstar athletes or superstar singers or geniuses at something else, they just ended up inside. And it's like, doesn't matter how talented you are, doesn't matter whatever. It's like, dude, you're locked up. Like, you know, people in your facility are gonna be like, that guy can sing. But it's like,
I've said that in a lot of my videos, you know. So if you go to my Dub S channel, that's where I roast. That's a roast channel, reaction channel. My Dubs channel,
I put your main channel in the description. I'll add the Dub S one too.
But on my Dubs channel, I want to have a message, right? And I talk about it all the time, that prison is full of potential. Potential is a dream unrealized, man. If you think about it. Prison, I mean, if you just listen to them, there's guys in there, they'll tell you they're better than Jordan, they're better than Kobe, they're better than LeBron. Whoever you think is the best, they're going to tell you that. But you know what? You're not winning no championships, and your cell is the same size as the guy next to you, man. You know, you got guys that are the best rappers in the world. Again, let them tell you. Just listen, they'll tell you. But the potential was wasted, you know, and it's an unfortunate thing. I think I think the smartest people I've ever met in my life, I met in there. You know, you have guys, and I'm not going to get involved. You know, those that know my channel know I don't get involved in it, but I have personally sat down and had business discussions with guys that are in there and they're making, you know, huge amounts of money while sitting in a prison cell. And if those minds could be out here and get involved in legitimate business, I mean, it's limitless, that type of potential. But at a young age, they made a horrible decision, and not everyone in there can figure out their self-worth. You know, it took me a long time, you know, and it took me a long time to realize I was the problem, you know. And it's funny, like, you know, I see guys in the comment section here that are talking shit about me, and it's like, if I was still the old me, I would have had no problem even from in there ordering something on you. You know what I mean? Where nowadays I'll shake your hand, have a beer with you. You know, I'm a completely different person, and I'm fine with it. You know, but there's a lot of guys in there, man. I mean, I'm talking about made dudes, made members. I've had personal conversations with these dudes, and they'll tell homies, these guys out here, they don't know. They've never had these conversations with those men. There's a reason why I call them the legends, because they've made them into myths. They don't know who they really are and what's really going on, right? And I've heard them tell homies, why you want to be in here? There's enough of us in here. Don't you want to get out there and fuck your old lady? Have some kids? You know, like, try to beat your case, you know. But anyways, you got guys out here that they think it's you gotta go to prison and be a tough guy, but you don't see any of them lining up to go. You know, they have the nerve to judge people who really live that life, but they didn't walk a day of it. It's a trip. You know, it really trips me out.
Fuck, I'm glad that I didn't. I was like, yeah, there's nothing about that sounds enticing to me at all. It's like, fuck. But also, dude, I don't do good with enclosed spaces, man. I don't watch submarine movies. I can't watch shit where people are locked inside of things and they're underwater. Like, claustrophobia is like, you know what's interesting about your story though that you told is the fact that like you never watched TV and you read. I think that's probably a big reason why. I watched TV in there, but I read as much and as often as I could. Since I got out of prison, I don't watch TV at all. You know, but yeah, no, and in the shoe, that's where I really, really did a lot of studying. You know, that was a place where, you know, Pelican Bay Shoe was the MIT, the Oxford, whatever highest level of learning you can think of in the outside world and in the criminal world. That's what Pelican Bay Shoe was. And so I was learning from those men, and I was also learning my history. I was learning about the world, you know, even though I wasn't a part of it. One thing about me is I always want to be able to carry my end of the conversation, no matter who I'm talking to. And I tell people all the time, people will see me. I mean, I'm covered up right now, but I mean, I'm inked up from head to toe. Right. And, there's people that will see me and make an assumption of me based upon my looks. And then we engage in a conversation and they walk away with a different opinion. And to me, that's very important, because there are thousands of guys still behind those walls in prison that are just like me. They just need that chance. So me having these conversations, me doing the videos that I do, hopefully helps those behind the wall when they get out and they don't get people misjudging them or just judging them by their appearance. You know, they'll engage with them and it'll help them out. For sure. All right, we're going to shut this thing down because we want to keep it under a certain amount of time for the people who come on later, but we'll do this again. Everybody, thanks for hanging out. If you didn't watch the beginning, head back there and do that. You will you'll enjoy it. Dubs, thanks for coming on again. And free Cain, dude. That's right. That's right. All right, you guys. Thank you. Right. Thank you, Jesse. Yeah. Yes. And